Fine. Let's see the next kind of stitches. Next is fishbone stitch. This fishbone stitch, as the name implies, looks like fishbone, and it is mostly used as filling stitch. As the name implies, how the stitch comes is so it looks like fishbone. Mostly this fishbone is preferred for leaves like motifs, leaf motifs, where you have your leaves will have lines like fish bones. So most of the leaves when preferred in your embroidery motifs are found with this fishbone stitch. For this fishbone, you may not know how this fishbone looks like when you are doing your embroidery, but you should not make it confused with your satin stitch. I will show you the difference. For the satin stitch, for the same leaf motif, if you are dividing the portion and you are planning to do this motif with satin stitch, you will finish like divide the portion and equally you will fill the stitches in order to make the stitches fill, and also to make the base fabric to hide with the satin stitches. Yeah, like this. This is how your satin stitch will be when you are using in leaf motifs. But when coming to the same motif, when you are choosing fishbone stitch, you are supposed to overlap each other. And also it is not mandatory for fishbone to hide your base fabric, but most of your fishbone stitches will be like it will hide your basic fabric color. So you should know the difference between how you have to choose your satin stitch and fishbone stitch according to your motif for the design. You have to overlap from left or right of all the stitches, like how we are pleating your hair. Exactly is what your fishbone stitch. Let me now demonstrate you. So as I said, you are going to do with leaf motifs. For this fishbone stitch, hold your thread with your left finger. Make a running stitch at the center of your fishbone motif. And from the left, pull your needle and pierce to the half of your design at the right, and take the next stitch from right and pierce it to your left design. It means we are doing a cross from left or right. It is your choice to start from wherever you want. I feel you can understand the difference of how you are doing satin stitch and how you are supposed to do your fishbone stitch. If you continue this, you can get fishbone stitch. This is what your fishbone. Entirely it comes like overlapping the previous stitches one by one. Fine. And coming to the bright stitch, This is purely decorative stitch. Used as filling one. For this bright stitch alone, the specialty of this bright stitch is it has more than 200 varieties. We are going to see only the basic bright stitch. As I was repeatedly saying, we are seeing only the basic hand embroidery stitches. We have 2 or 3 varieties in the same stitch. Like chain, we have double chain, triple chain and all. But in the same manner, the bright stitch has more than 200 varieties. Not like others like 3 or 4 varieties. It is not so. Bright stitch has more than 200 varieties in its stitch types. And it can be used as filling stitch. When you prefer this bright stitch to be done with your motif, be conscious about the type of fabric you use. Even though you are using very rich fabric, the bright stitch will not be apt for the rich looks. What I am coming to say is type of fabric you prefer, the type of design you prefer should be matching together for this bright stitch. What makes this stitch to enhance the feel of your fabric by means of your bright stitch. For this bright stitch, I have taken a different color. So as I said, bright stitch, it has to more than 200 varieties. We are going to see only the basic stitch. For this bright stitch also, you can knot at the end, because we are mostly will do like French knot procedure is followed for doing this bright stitch. See, once you brought your needle to the topmost position, you have to wrap your needle once, like the same procedure what you have done for your French knot. And what the other thing you have to do for this bright stitch is, take at the point A and bring your needle out at the point B. Again wrap your thread once and pull your thread back. Clear? Once you finish one bright stitch, just pull your thread in order to avoid snagness of the stitch. Again, to do the next bright, keep the needle close to your fabric, wrap it once, start at the point where you want the braid and bring your needle at the point where you are going to finish, and wrap your needle with the thread once and pull your thread back. See, I am going to repeat for a few more stitches so that you may feel how the stitch looks as the name implies. So be conscious when you are wrapping your threads around your needle, because we are taking all 6 strands. All should go in equal manner around your needle. So this is how your bright stitch looks as a whole. I have done more than 4 stitches. So it is purely decorative and filling stitch. All the 6 strands can be utilized. Once you are not familiar with the design, you can make parallel lines like this in order to maintain the equal distance from beginning and the ending. Without any reference marks, you may feel you have done in long distance. One bride stitch will be in some length, another bride will be in some other length. It is very not looking like very odd and all, but in minute if you look at it, it may spoil your design beauty. So be conscious, you may have a reference mark for doing a bride stitches, and if you continue this, you can get your bride stitch. We have more than 200 varieties. I feel it will be a very simple one to start with for beginners. This is what your bride stitch. And next, hemming. Hemming, as the name implies, it is hemming process. You might have seen this hemming application in most of the costumes which we wear in our day-to-day life. Actually, see, in my blouse here, I don't know whether it is visible for you. See, here they have done with the hemming, which is done with the edge of sleeves. This is what hemming found its applications. Sleeve hemming, bottom hemming. This hemming mostly done by means of hand, and mostly now most of the women like to do hemming for the saree blouses, which makes it more beautiful and attractive, which shows its uniqueness. And for sarees and all, they used to have like falls at the bottom of their sarees. For that falls, and also this kind of hemming is done. Falls in sarees. So it is purely functional purpose, rarely decorative. This hemming stitch is actually the same procedure like a blanket or buttonhole stitch, or buttonhole stitch. This blanket or buttonhole stitch should be at the back of your hemming, so that the hemming stitch will be visible on the front side of your fabric. Let me show you how this hemming has to be done. So it is not necessary for doing your hemming stitch you have to fit your frame. It is not so. So I will show you how to do the hemming at this point. So hemming purpose is to make the edges secure. So we have raveling threads in this fabric which I have in hand right now. You may have some fabrics, or if you like to finish the edges of your fabric or edges of the costumes what you like to wear, you can prefer for this kind of hand hemming stitches. So for hemming, you are supposed to fold your fabric twice in order to hide this raveling portions. Raveling of thread should not be visible, so it is not used for doing a hemming stitches, right? So you have to fold it twice to hide the raveled portion. In an even manner you have to fold it, and see, your hand position should be in this manner where your left hand has to be preferred. Make your fabric to be in straight and stitch manner, so that your hemming will be done in proper way. So this is Gada material where the front and back looks same. This is actually your back side of the fabric where we are going to do the blanket or buttonhole stitch, which makes here to get a single dot, which is called as hemming stitch. Fine. So we are holding the fabric at place. And we are going to start at the point where we want to do the hemming. For this, you are supposed to see, you have to include the base fabric and the hemming. Going to hem this fabric also need to be taken into account. Decide the distance. Pierce like, take the base fabric once and make the needle to come out at the folded area. Wrap your thread around the needle once and pull your needle. See, we are getting the shape of 7, which is actually a blanket or buttonhole stitch. So I will repeat to a certain distance. So it is not mandatory for this hemming stitch. We need to maintain small distance so that the stitches look. It is not like that. You can prefer the lengthier distance in order to finish the hem in neat manner. So at the back side of your fabric, you are supposed to get blanket stitch. And the front side, you will be getting a single knot. I will show you right now. That can be called as hemming stitch. See, you're supposed to hold your fabric tight while doing your hemming so that you feel comfort for doing. If you're living in a loose manner, you're feeling discomfort, or it is not that much easy to finish the hemming without proper holding of your fabric. So maintain the distance correctly. So at the back of the design we got buttonhole. At the front we got a small dot or small running stitches in vertical manner, which can be called as hemming. This is your face side fabric. See, imagine like it is your sleeve. You can get hemming like this. See, as I have in my blouse. This is what your hemming. We got buttonhole stitch, and at the front we are having hemming stitch. This is what your hemming actually. Purely functional purpose to secure the edges of your fabric, mostly found in sleeve hems, bottom of your sari falls materials. We have this kind of hemming stitches. Next, we are going to see needle weaving. This needle weaving, as the name implies, it influences with weaving process. What is weaving process actually? Interlacing of warp and weft threads. Interlacing of warp and weft threads, it's called as weaving. For doing this needle weaving, as the name implies, we have weaving technique using needle. Needle and weaving called as needle weaving. So this needle weaving is purely filling stitches. It is not like decorative, it is purely like some functional. We are doing this needle weaving process by means of raveling weft threads, and you can do the needle weaving with different embroidery stitches with embroidery threads. This needle weaving can be done. Suppose if you are planning to do needle weaving in this area of your design, first you have to do long running stitches for the entire portion or the area you feel to do with needle weaving, and you have to bring your needle at one end and you have to do the interlacing, one up, one down, one up, one down till the end of your design. and you have to pierce at the next end and start from the next end and do one up, one down, one up, one down, one up, one down, and come to the next edge and pierce it at the second edge of your design. And if you repeat this, we will be able to getting a weaving like structure on your design, which can be called as needle weaving stitches. Now I will demonstrate how this needle weaving stitch has to be done. So for this needle weaving, you are supposed to take all the 6 strands, or more than 3 strands we can do needle weaving. And one more thing is, you are supposed to use 2 contrast colors. 2 colors is mandatory for doing this needle weaving. See, if I am planning to do needle weaving for this portion, I have to first fill this portion with running stitches. See, I started doing my running stitch. Decide the equal distance. See, I am continuously doing running stitch for the particular portions where we planned for needle weaving. Maintaining an equal distance. See, I made a running stitch at the initial stage for doing this needle weaving technique. I am going to complete this running stitch at the end. See, this is how you have to finish all embroidery stitches once your motif is done with your stitches. As like buttonhole or boolean, for boolean knots, we will wrap, right? That is what we have to do for this finishing of your embroidery. You are supposed to make a knot at the edge. So once it is done, you can take another contrast color. So I have taken with pink. You have to do the interlacing now. So as I said, start at one point. Do the interlacing. One up, one down, one up, one down, one up, one down, one up, one down. So make all the threads to come in neat manner and pierce at the edge where you have completed your interlacing, and start from the same edge, one up, one down, one up, one down. It should be in alternative manner. As you know the weaving process, it is same like that. Pierce at the second edge where you have completed now, and take from third one. So as we are taking all the 6 strands, you should be conscious in making your threads to come out around all the 6 strands together. You should not make any damage to the strands, or you are not supposed to leave any strands when you are doing the interlacing. So be conscious in that also. So once you complete like this, your embroidery, your needle weaving looks in this manner, which is called as needle weaving. Or else this is an even weave fabric. Actually the interlacing of warp and weft threads are done for doing this kind of even weave fabrics. Suppose if you are planning to do needle weaving in some other manner, like another methods, what you can do is you can wrap the threads like this at the center of your fabric, and with this wrapped threads you can do the interlacing, which is little tough process to hold the threads in hand, and you have to do the interlacing with the wrapped out threads. So it will be a different unique embroidery stitch called as needle weaving. So this is how your needle weaving works. So we have seen decorative stitches, fly, knotting, hemming, fishbone and bride stitch. This is how I have demonstrated how the stitches will look like, how the stitches find its applications in real-time scenario, and how your strands are to be chosen for doing this kind of decorative stitches. Next we will see third unit, machine embroidery, in the next session. Thank you.